The sky above New York City turned dark as something enormous blocked out the sun. People stopped in their tracks, looking up with wide eyes. A fleet of alien ships, shiny and metallic, hovered silently in the air. They were unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. Each ship was shaped like a long blade, glinting in the sunlight that managed to peek through gaps in the formation. The streets fell quiet for a moment, then erupted into chaos. Some people screamed, others ran, and many simply stood frozen, unable to believe what they were seeing. John Carter sat at his desk inside NASA's headquarters in Houston, Texas, when the news broke. His phone buzzed nonstop with alerts from colleagues and friends, sending him videos of the strange ships appearing over cities around the world. John wasn't just another scientist. He specialized in studying signals from outer space. For years, he'd been analyzing mysterious energy patterns near Saturn, but nothing could have prepared him for this. When his boss walked into the room and told him to pack his bags because Washington, D.C. needed him immediately, John didn't argue. He grabbed his laptop and a notebook filled with scribbled equations, feeling a mix of excitement and dread. Meanwhile, in New York City, Emily Dawson held her camera steady as she filmed the crowd below. As a journalist, Emily lived for moments like this, events so big they changed history forever. She interviewed random people on the street, asking them how they felt about the alien ships looming overhead. Some cried, saying they thought it was the end of the world. Others spoke boldly, claiming humanity would fight back no matter what. Emily listened carefully, jotting down notes between takes. Her heart raced not just from adrenaline, but also from fear. What did these aliens want? Were they here to help or hurt? Back in Washington, D.C., government officials gathered in a secure meeting room. Maps of Earth covered the walls, marked with red dots showing where the alien ships had appeared. Everyone looked tense, speaking in hushed tones until someone turned on a large screen displaying a live broadcast. An alien face, tall, insect-like, with shimmering green skin, appeared on the monitor. Its voice sounded mechanical yet calm as it addressed humanity. "We are the Vorin Dominion. We bring order to the galaxy. Join us or face destruction." The room went silent. No one knew what to say. Was this real? Could they trust these beings? John arrived just as the transmission ended. He introduced himself briefly before being handed stacks of data collected from radar systems worldwide. Sitting down at a workstation, he began analyzing the information. It didn't take long for him to notice something odd. The energy signatures emitted by the alien ships matched patterns he'd studied near Saturn years ago. This wasn't just a coincidence. These aliens had been watching Earth for a long time. As night fell, Emily stayed in New York, determined to capture every detail of the unfolding story. She noticed soldiers setting up barricades around Times Square and heard rumors of blackouts happening in other parts of the country. Whatever was coming next, she realized, wouldn't be good. Back in D.C., John worked late into the night, piecing together clues. He couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was standing on the edge of something monumental and terrifying. If Earth wanted to survive, it would need answers fast. The next morning, the world woke up to a new reality. The alien ships hadn't moved. They hung in the sky like silent sentinels, casting long shadows over cities and towns. Governments scrambled to respond, but no one knew what to do. The Vorin Dominion's message had been clear: join them or face destruction. Yet, humanity wasn't ready to give up its freedom without a fight, or at least, not all of it. In Washington, D.C., John Carter sat in a crowded conference room with military leaders, scientists, and politicians. Everyone was talking at once, their voices overlapping in frustration. Some argued that surrendering was the safest option. "If we cooperate, maybe they'll leave us alone," one senator said nervously. Others disagreed, insisting that bowing to the aliens would only make things worse. "If we show weakness now, they'll take everything," another official snapped back. John stayed quiet, his mind racing as he flipped through pages of data on his laptop. He couldn't stop thinking about the energy signatures from the alien ships. There was something familiar about them, something he couldn't quite place yet. Emily Dawson, meanwhile, was still in New York City, chasing leads. She'd heard rumors about a retired Air Force pilot named Alex Bennett, who claimed to know more about the aliens than anyone else. After some digging, she found him, a wiry man in his late 50s with sharp eyes and a skeptical smile. Alex lived in a small apartment filled with books, maps, and old newspapers. When Emily introduced herself, he crossed his arms and studied her carefully before speaking. "You really want to know what's going on?" he asked. She nodded eagerly, and he leaned forward, lowering his voice. "There's a group called Eclipse. They'd been preparing for this day for years." Alex explained that Eclipse was a secret resistance movement. For decades, they'd been collecting evidence of alien activity and reverse engineering technology from crashed UFOs. According to Alex, they even had weapons capable of fighting back against invaders like the Vorin. Emily listened intently, her pen flying across her notebook. If what Alex said was true, Eclipse might be humanity's best chance. But when she asked how to find them, he hesitated. "It's not easy to get in touch with them," he admitted, "but I can introduce you to someone who knows more." While Emily worked on tracking down Eclipse, tensions between Earth and the Vorin escalated. Xylar, the insect-like ambassador, grew impatient. Through another broadcast, he demanded an immediate answer to his ultimatum. "Your time is running out," he warned, his mechanical voice cold and emotionless. The threat sent shockwaves around the globe. Protests erupted in major cities, with people holding signs that read, "We won't surrender, and Earth belongs to us." At the same time, panic buying left grocery store shelves empty, and families began stockpiling supplies in case the worst happened. John, still working tirelessly in D.C., made a breakthrough. He discovered that the energy signatures from the Vorin ships matched patterns detected near Saturn, but there was more. Hidden within the data were faint traces of something older, almost ancient. It was as if the signals had been deliberately buried, waiting for someone to find them. John shared his findings with a trusted colleague, Dr. Lisa Monroe, who agreed the implications were huge. "This could mean Earth has encountered these aliens before," she whispered, glancing around the room to make sure no one overheard. "Or maybe we fought them." As the hours ticked by, the pressure mounted. President Laura Hayes addressed the nation, urging calm while hinting that plans were being made to defend Earth. Her words offered little comfort. People wanted action, not reassurance. In New York, Emily finally met Sarah Mitchell, a leader of Eclipse. Sarah was younger than Emily expected, mid-30s, with short dark hair and a no-nonsense attitude. Over coffee, Sarah confirmed Alex's claims and showed Emily blueprints for a prototype weapon designed to disable alien shields. "It's risky," Sarah admitted, "but if it works, it could level the playing field." By the end of the day, John felt closer to understanding the Vorin's connection to Earth. Emily had uncovered a potential ally in Eclipse, and humanity, though scared and divided, was beginning to unite under the looming shadow of the alien fleet. Whatever came next, one thing was certain: Earth wouldn't go down without a fight. By the third day, the world felt like it was holding its breath. The Vorin ships still hovered ominously in the sky, their presence a constant reminder of the threat hanging over humanity. Governments were struggling to find a solution, but progress was slow. In Washington, D.C., John Carter worked late into the night, his desk cluttered with papers and coffee cups. He couldn't shake the feeling that the answer to Earth's survival lay hidden in the data he'd been analyzing. The energy signatures from the alien ships pointed to something ancient, something buried deep within Earth's history. But what and where? Emily Dawson had spent the last 2 days following leads on Eclipse, the secret resistance group Sarah Mitchell had introduced her to. She traveled to a remote location outside Chicago, where Eclipse operated from an underground bunker. The entrance was hidden beneath an old warehouse, and Emily had to pass through layers of security before being allowed inside. The bunker was a maze of dimly lit corridors, filled with people working tirelessly at computers, testing weapons, and strategizing. It was clear they had been preparing for this moment for years. Sarah gave Emily a tour, explaining how Eclipse had managed to reverse engineer alien technology from crashed UFOs. "We've been watching the skies for decades," Sarah said as they walked past rows of strange-looking devices. "The government doesn't want people to know, but we've had visitors before. This isn't our first encounter with aliens. It's just the biggest." Emily listened intently, scribbling notes. She couldn't help but feel a mix of awe and fear. These people weren't soldiers or scientists. They were ordinary individuals who had dedicated their lives to protecting Earth. The centerpiece of Eclipse's operation was a prototype weapon called the Disruptor. It looked like a large metal cylinder mounted on a tripod, with wires and circuits spilling out like guts. Alex Bennett, the retired Air Force pilot, stood nearby, adjusting the settings. "This baby can disable alien shields," he explained proudly. "But it's never been tested against something as big as those ships up there." He pointed to the ceiling, as if he could see the Vorin fleet through miles of earth and sky. "If we're going to use it, we need to act fast." While Eclipse fine-tuned the Disruptor, tensions between Earth and the Vorin reached a boiling point. Xylar, the insect-like ambassador, appeared once again in a global broadcast. His tone was colder than ever. "Your indecision is unacceptable," he declared. "You leave us no choice but to demonstrate our power." Moments later, one of the alien cruisers descended toward Australia. People watched in horror as the ship unleashed a devastating beam of energy, obliterating a remote military base in seconds. The explosion was visible from space, and the shockwave rippled across the globe. The attack changed everything. Public opinion shifted dramatically, with even the most hesitant leaders now calling for resistance. President Laura Hayes addressed the nation, her voice firm. "We will not bow to tyranny," she said. "Earth stands united." Her words inspired hope, but the reality was grim. Humanity needed more than speeches to fight back. It needed weapons, strategy, and courage. John, still working in D.C., received an urgent call from Dr. Lisa Monroe. She had uncovered new information about the energy signatures. "There's something in Antarctica," she told him. "Ancient structures buried under the ice. They match the patterns you found." John's heart raced. Could these structures hold the key to defeating the Vorin? He immediately shared the discovery with the team in Washington. If they could uncover what was hidden beneath the ice, it might give humanity the edge it desperately needed. Back at the Eclipse bunker, Sarah and Alex debated whether to send a team to Antarctica. "It's risky," Alex argued. "We don't have time to chase theories while the Vorin are breathing down our necks." But Sarah disagreed. "If there's even a chance this could help us, we have to take it," she insisted. After much discussion, they decided to move forward. A small expedition would be sent to investigate the site, led by John, who volunteered despite the danger. As plans came together, Emily documented every step, determined to share the story with the world. She knew the stakes were higher than ever. Humanity was outmatched, outnumbered, and running out of time. But amidst the fear and uncertainty, there was a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, Earth had a fighting chance after all. The journey to Antarctica was anything but easy. John Carter, Sarah Mitchell, and Alex Bennett boarded a small, specially equipped plane designed to withstand the harsh conditions of the frozen continent. The team also included 2 Eclipse engineers, Mark and Rachel, who carried tools and equipment to help analyze whatever they might find. As the plane descended through thick clouds, the landscape below revealed itself, endless stretches of white snow and jagged ice formations that looked like nature's own fortress. It was beautiful, but it was also unforgiving. When they landed, the cold hit them like a wall. Even with thermal suits, the biting wind made their faces sting. Sarah led the group toward the coordinates Dr. Lisa Monroe had provided. her breath forming tiny clouds in the air. "We don't have much time," she reminded everyone as they trudged through knee-deep snow. "If we're going to find something useful, we need to move fast." John nodded, clutching his laptop tightly. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were close to something big, something that could change everything. After hours of hiking, they reached the site. Hidden beneath layers of ice was the entrance to what appeared to be an ancient structure. Its metallic surface gleamed faintly under the sunlight, untouched by time. The design was unlike anything human. It was sleek, geometric, and covered in strange symbols etched into the material. Mark and Rachel set up drills and scanners to break through the ice, while John studied the symbols closely. "These look like some kind of language," he muttered, snapping pictures. "Maybe instructions or warnings." As the team worked, the ground began to tremble slightly. At first, they thought it was just the ice shifting, but then a low hum filled the air. The sound grew louder, vibrating through their boots and into their bones. Sarah held up a hand, signaling everyone to stop. "What's happening?" Alex asked, gripping his rifle nervously. No one answered because no one knew. Suddenly, the structure came alive. Panels on its surface lit up with glowing blue lines, pulsing rhythmically like a heartbeat. John felt a surge of excitement mixed with fear. "It's reacting to us," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We must have triggered something." The team exchanged nervous glances, but didn't back away. They had come too far to turn back now. Slowly, a section of the structure slid open, revealing a dark passageway leading downward. The air inside was warmer than expected, and the walls shimmered with the same blue light. It felt almost alive, watching them as they stepped inside. The deeper they went, the more incredible the structure became. The walls were lined with intricate carvings depicting battles between humans or humanoid figures, and insect-like creatures eerily similar to the Vorin. John stopped to examine one carving closely. "This is proof," he said, his voice trembling with awe. "Earth has fought these aliens before. Thousands, maybe millions of years ago." Sarah nodded grimly. "And we won last time. We can do it again." At the heart of the structure, they found what looked like a control room. In the center stood a massive console covered in buttons and levers, glowing softly. John hesitated for a moment before touching it. Instantly, the entire structure rumbled, and lights blazed brighter. Outside, the energy surge disrupted the Vorin ships orbiting Earth. For a brief moment, their shields flickered, and communication signals faltered. "We did it," Alex exclaimed, grinning despite the tension. But the victory was short-lived. The structure's activation triggered alarms, and red warning lights began flashing. "We've got company," Sarah said sharply, pointing to the entrance. Shadows moved outside. The Vorin had detected the energy spike and sent drones to investigate. The team quickly gathered their gear and prepared to leave, knowing they couldn't stay any longer. As they emerged from the structure, the sky above was filled with alien drones scanning the area. "We need to get out of here, now," Sarah shouted. The group sprinted toward their plane, dodging blasts from the drones. Behind them, the ancient structure sealed itself once again, vanishing beneath the ice as if it had never been disturbed. Back on the plane, John stared at the data they'd collected, his mind racing. They had uncovered evidence of humanity's forgotten past, and possibly the key to its future, but the fight was far from over. The flight back from Antarctica was tense. John Carter sat hunched over his laptop, reviewing the data they had gathered from the ancient structure. The carvings, the glowing console, and the strange energy surge, it all pointed to one thing. Earth had once been protected by advanced technology, possibly created by an ancient civilization. But how could humanity use it against the Vorin? And could they even replicate its power? Sarah Mitchell sat across from him, her face pale but determined. She knew the stakes were higher than ever. Every second they spent analyzing the data was another second the Vorin fleet grew stronger. Alex Bennett piloted the plane, his hand steady on the controls despite the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. "We're running out of time," he muttered, glancing at the horizon. Back in Washington, D.C., President Laura Hayes had already declared Earth's resistance official. No Galactic Empire ships allowed, she announced to the world, her voice firm and defiant. The declaration sparked a wave of unity among humans, but it also provoked Xylar, the Vorin ambassador. His next message was chilling. "Your defiance will cost you dearly." By the time the team landed, Eclipse was buzzing with activity. News of their discovery in Antarctica spread quickly, and everyone wanted answers. Mark and Rachel, the engineers, began building models based on the blueprints John brought back. They worked tirelessly, piecing together fragments of the ancient technology. Meanwhile, Sarah called for a meeting to discuss the next steps. "We know the Vorin are vulnerable to energy disruptions," she said, pacing the room. "If we can harness that same energy, we might stand a chance." John interrupted her, holding up his laptop. "There's more," he said. "The structure wasn't just a weapon. It was part of a network, a system designed to summon something bigger." He showed them images of the carvings again, pointing to figures that looked like massive biomechanical creatures. "These aren't machines. They're guardians, protectors of Earth." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. If these guardians still existed, they could be humanity's greatest weapon, or its biggest gamble. Emily Dawson, who had stayed behind to document everything, listened intently. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Ancient alien guardians. It sounded like science fiction, but after everything she'd seen, she knew anything was possible. She asked John, "How do we wake them up?" He hesitated before answering. "It's risky. Activating the network requires channeling immense amounts of energy. If we mess it up, we could trigger a catastrophic reaction." Despite the danger, Sarah made the call to proceed. "We don't have a choice," she said firmly. "If we don't try, the Vorin will destroy us anyway." The team agreed, and preparations began. Using the data from Antarctica, they identified other locations around the globe where similar structures might be buried, hidden beneath oceans, mountains, and deserts. Teams were dispatched to investigate, while John and the engineers focused on refining the activation process. Days turned into weeks, and the pressure mounted. Xylar grew impatient, ordering smaller attacks on coastal cities to weaken Earth's defenses. Fires raged, buildings collapsed, and thousands fled their homes. Yet, amidst the chaos, humanity refused to give up. Civilians joined the resistance, volunteering to help in any way they could. Farmers donated food, mechanics repaired vehicles, and ordinary people risked their lives to sabotage Vorin supply lines. Finally, the day came when the network was ready. John stood in the control room of the Eclipse bunker, surrounded by screens displaying live feeds from each site. Sarah gave the order, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "Activate the sequence." One by one, the teams triggered the ancient structures. At first, nothing happened. Then, the ground began to shake violently. Cracks formed in the earth, and oceans churned as if stirred by an invisible force. From deep below, colossal beings emerged, glowing, metallic, and brimming with primal energy. The Vorin fleet retreated momentarily, unsure how to respond. Their drones scanned the Guardians, firing warning shots that did nothing. For the first time since the invasion began, hope flickered in the hearts of humans. But the battle was far from over. As the Guardians took to the skies, Xylar prepared his ultimate weapon, a planet-destroying beam capable of wiping out Earth entirely. Humanity's defiance had awakened both allies and enemies, setting the stage for a final, desperate fight. The appearance of the ancient Guardians changed everything. Towering above cities and oceans, their massive forms glowed with an otherworldly light. Each Guardian looked like a fusion of machine and living creature. Metallic limbs moved with fluid grace, and glowing eyes scanned the skies as if searching for a long-lost enemy. Humanity watched in awe as these protectors took to the air, engaging the Vorin fleet. For the first time since the invasion began, people dared to hope. But Zillar, the Vorin ambassador, was not impressed. He viewed the Guardians as nothing more than relics from a forgotten age. Primitive tools, he sneered during another global broadcast. They cannot stop us. His confidence sent a chill through humanity. The Vorin ships regrouped, forming tight formations around a massive cruiser that pulsed with ominous energy. It was clear they were preparing something big, something devastating. Back at the Eclipse bunker, Sarah Mitchell and John Carter worked feverishly to understand how the Guardians operated. They knew these beings were powerful, but they also sensed limitations. The Guardians followed patterns, responding only to specific threats. If the Vorin adapted quickly enough, the ancient protectors might not be enough to save Earth. We need to buy ourselves more time, Sarah said, her voice sharp with urgency. If we can disrupt their main ship, it could weaken their entire fleet. Emily Dawson wandered through the bunker, capturing footage of the chaos unfolding around her. Engineers shouted orders, pilots suited up for dangerous missions, and strategists pored over maps and data. She stopped near Alex Bennett, who was briefing a team of pilots about their next attack. "This isn't just about hitting them hard," Alex explained, pointing to a holographic display of the Vorin cruiser. "It's about drawing their attention away from the Guardians while they adjust." John approached Emily, his face pale but resolute. "I've been analyzing the energy readings from the cruiser," he said quietly. "That thing is building up power for something catastrophic, a planet-destroying weapon." Emily's stomach dropped. "How much time do we have?" she asked. John hesitated before answering. "Hours, maybe less." With time running out, the Resistance launched its boldest counterattack yet. Using retrofitted fighter jets armed with electromagnetic disruptors, Eclipse pilots took to the skies alongside the Guardians. Alex led the charge, his plane darting between Vorin drones as he fired bursts of energy at their shields. The disruptors worked better than expected, temporarily disabling several smaller ships. But the Vorin adapted quickly, deploying swarms of drones to overwhelm the human forces. On the ground, Sarah coordinated the operation from the bunker, her voice steady despite the mounting tension. "Keep pushing," she urged over the comms. "Don't let them focus on the Guardians." Meanwhile, John monitored the Guardians' movements, feeding real-time data to the pilots. The colossal beings fought with unmatched strength, tearing through Vorin cruisers like paper. Yet even they couldn't hold back the tide forever. As the battle raged, Emily recorded every moment, knowing this was history in the making. She interviewed soldiers and civilians alike, capturing stories of courage and sacrifice. One pilot, a young woman named Lisa, volunteered for a suicide mission to disable the Vorin cruiser's main weapon. Her voice cracked as she spoke into the camera. "If I don't come back, tell my family I did what I had to do," she said simply. Tears streamed down Emily's face as she nodded. Lisa's mission succeeded, at great cost. Her jet slammed into the cruiser's weapon core, causing a massive explosion that crippled the ship. The blast shook the atmosphere, sending shockwaves rippling across the globe. For a brief moment, the Vorin fleet faltered, giving the Guardians the opening they needed to deliver a decisive blow. Yet even as the tide turned, humanity paid a heavy price. Pilots died, cities burned, and millions mourned. In the aftermath, Zillar retreated, vowing revenge. But for now, Earth was safe, or so it seemed. As the sun rose over a scared but defiant planet, John, Sarah, and Emily stood together, exhausted but hopeful. The fight wasn't over, but humanity had proven one thing. It would never surrender without a fight. The aftermath of the battle left Earth battered but alive. Smoke still rose from cities where Vorin attacks had struck hardest, and the skies were streaked with ash and debris. Yet, amidst the destruction, there was a sense of cautious relief. The Vorin fleet had retreated, its massive cruiser damaged beyond repair thanks to Lisa's sacrifice. Her name quickly became a symbol of bravery. Whispered in homes, and chanted in protests. Humanity wasn't out of danger yet, but it had won a small victory, a reminder that even against overwhelming odds, resistance was possible. In the Eclipse bunker, Sarah Mitchell leaned against a wall, her body heavy with exhaustion. She had spent hours coordinating the counterattack, her voice hoarse from shouting orders over the comms. Now, surrounded by weary faces, she allowed herself a moment to breathe. "We did it," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. But the words felt hollow. Too many lives had been lost, too many families torn apart. John Carter sat nearby, staring at his laptop screen. His mind raced with questions. Why had the Vorin attacked? What did they truly want from Earth? And most importantly, would they return? Emily Dawson wandered through the bunker, her camera slung over her shoulder. She didn't feel like filming anymore. Instead, she listened to snippets of conversation. Soldiers sharing stories, engineers discussing repairs, civilians offering what little help they could. She paused near a group of pilots who were quiet for once, their usual bravado replaced by somber reflection. One of them, Alex Bennett, noticed her standing there. "You okay?" he asked, his voice gentle. Emily shook her head. "No," she admitted. "I don't think I'll ever be okay again." Above ground, the Guardians still lingered, their glowing forms casting faint light over the ruins. They moved slowly now, as if conserving energy. John approached Sarah, pointing to the ancient protectors. "They're not invincible," he said. "Whatever power they used to fight the Vorin, it drained them. If the Vorin come back, we can't rely on them alone." Sarah nodded grimly. "Then we need to prepare for round 2. President Laura Hayes addressed the world once again, her face tired but determined. "Today we stand united," she declared. "But this is only the beginning. The Vorin will not stop until we force them to. Together, we must rebuild, and we must remain vigilant." Her words resonated deeply, sparking a renewed sense of purpose among survivors. Across the globe, people came together to clean up the wreckage, care for the injured, and honor the dead. It was clear that humanity had changed forever. Meanwhile, Zalar brooded aboard his flagship, far beyond Earth's orbit. He hadn't expected such defiance from what he considered a primitive species. The loss of the cruiser infuriated him, but it also intrigued him. "These humans are resourceful," he muttered to his advisors. "Perhaps too resourceful. For now." He ordered the fleet to regroup and reassess their strategy. But deep down, he knew one thing for certain. Earth would not escape the Vorin dominion so easily. Back at the bunker, John made another breakthrough. While analyzing data from the Guardians' movements, he discovered something startling. The network of ancient structures wasn't just defensive, it was communicative. Each activation sent signals into space, possibly reaching other civilizations. "What if we're not alone in this?" John suggested during a meeting. "What if these signals are calling for reinforcements?" The idea sparked both hope and fear. Help could come from beyond the stars, but so could new enemies. As night fell, Emily stepped outside the bunker, gazing up at the sky. The Vorin ships had disappeared, leaving behind an eerie calm. She thought about all she'd witnessed, the courage, the sacrifices, the sheer will to survive. Humanity had proven it could fight, but the cost had been enormous. Would it be enough next time? She didn't know. All she could do was document the truth and trust that someone, somewhere, would listen. Earth had declared its independence, but the war was far from over. Days turned into weeks, and Earth began the long process of healing. Cities that had been reduced to rubble slowly came back to life as volunteers worked tirelessly to rebuild homes, schools, and hospitals. The scars of the battle were everywhere: burnt buildings, cracked roads, and memorials for those who had lost their lives. Yet, amidst the destruction, there was a sense of unity. People from different countries, cultures, and backgrounds came together, driven by a shared purpose: to protect their planet. John Carter spent most of his time in the Eclipse bunker, poring over data from the ancient Guardians. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were hiding something more, something bigger. The signals they emitted into space worried him. Were they truly calling for help? Or were they alerting other threats to Earth's location? Sarah Mitchell joined him one evening, her face pale from lack of sleep. "We need answers," she said firmly. "If we don't figure out how these guardians work, we're sitting ducks." Emily Dawson continued documenting the recovery efforts, her camera capturing both the devastation and the resilience of humanity. She interviewed survivors, many of whom spoke about the importance of hope. "We've been through worse," an elderly man told her outside a makeshift shelter. "As long as we stick together, we'll make it." His words stayed with her, a reminder that even in the darkest times, people found ways to keep going. Meanwhile, President Laura Hayes announced the formation of the Interstellar Defense Coalition, IDC, a global alliance dedicated to preparing Earth for future alien encounters. Military leaders, scientists, and civilians worked side by side, pooling resources and knowledge. Factories once used to produce cars and electronics were repurposed to build advanced weapons and defense systems. Schools introduced new programs to teach students about engineering, space exploration, and survival skills. Humanity was adapting, learning to fight not just with courage but with innovation. In orbit, Zilar plotted his next move. Though the Vorin fleet had retreated, he refused to admit defeat. "The humans are stubborn," he told his advisors during a heated meeting. "But they are not invincible. We underestimated them before. We will not make the same mistake again." He ordered the construction of a new superweapon, one capable of annihilating entire continents in seconds. This time, there would be no warnings, no ultimatums. Earth would burn. Back on Earth, John made another startling discovery. Hidden within the Guardians' network was a failsafe, a way to amplify their power exponentially. However, activating it required channeling energy from multiple sources simultaneously. "It's risky," he warned Sarah and Alex during a late-night briefing. "If we overload the system, it could destroy the Guardians, and maybe us along with them." Despite the danger, Sarah decided to proceed. "We don't have a choice," she said. "If Zilar comes back with that superweapon, we'll need every advantage we can get." As preparations continued, Emily tried to reach out to the Vorin people themselves. Using intercepted transmissions, she crafted a message appealing directly to any dissenters within their ranks. "You don't have to follow Zilar's orders," her broadcast began. "Your empire claims to bring order, but all I see is destruction. Help us stop this war before it's too late." Her words spread across the galaxy, carried by the same signals the Guardians had sent. To everyone's surprise, the message resonated. A faction of Vorin soldiers, disillusioned by Zilar's ruthless tactics, began secretly sabotaging the superweapon's construction. Led by a defector named Kale, they contacted Eclipse, offering assistance in exchange for asylum. "We don't trust you," Sarah said bluntly when Kale first reached out. "But we need you. And you need us." With Kale's help, Eclipse launched a daring mission to disable the superweapon before it could be completed. Pilots flew headfirst into enemy territory, dodging fire while engineers worked feverishly to plant explosives. The operation was chaotic, filled with close calls and narrow escapes. But in the end, it succeeded. The superweapon exploded in a blinding flash, leaving the Vorin fleet reeling. For now, Earth was safe. But as the dust settled, John, Sarah, and Emily knew the fight wasn't over. The galaxy was vast, and Earth's declaration of independence had echoed far beyond its borders. Allies and enemies alike now knew that humanity wouldn't go down without a fight, and somewhere out there, Zilar vowed revenge. The explosion of the Vorin superweapon sent shockwaves through space, both literal and figurative. For a moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The surviving ships of the Vorin fleet retreated further into the void, their engines sputtering as they limped away from Earth's orbit. Back on the planet, humanity erupted in celebration. Cities lit up with fireworks, and crowds gathered in streets and squares, chanting slogans like, No Galactic Empire ships allowed. It was a victory worth celebrating, but those at the heart of the resistance knew better. This wasn't the end. It was only a pause. John Carter stood in the Eclipse bunker, staring at the monitors that displayed the remnants of the Vorin fleet. His mind raced with questions. Why had Kale and his faction turned against Zilar? What did they truly want from Earth? And most importantly, how long would it take for the Vorin to regroup and return? He glanced at Sarah Mitchell, who was speaking quietly with Alex Bennett near a table covered in maps and schematics. Despite the exhaustion etched into her face, she looked resolute. "We can't let our guard down," she said firmly. "Not for a second." Emily Dawson wandered outside the bunker, her camera slung over her shoulder. She didn't feel like filming anymore. Instead, she gazed up at the night sky, now free of alien ships but still heavy with uncertainty. The stars twinkled innocently, unaware of the chaos they had witnessed. Emily thought about all she'd seen. The courage, the sacrifices, the sheer determination of ordinary people rising to meet extraordinary challenges. Humanity had proven it could fight back, but the cost had been immense. Homes destroyed, lives lost, families shattered. Was it worth it? She wanted to believe so, but doubt lingered. Meanwhile, President Laura Hayes addressed the world once again. Her voice carried strength, but her eyes betrayed the weight of leadership. "Today we celebrate our victory," she said. "But tomorrow we prepare for what comes next. The galaxy is vast, and Earth's defiance has made us a target. We must remain united, vigilant, and ready." Her words resonated deeply, sparking a renewed sense of purpose among survivors. Across the globe, efforts to rebuild accelerated. Factories churned out new technologies, schools taught lessons in resilience, and communities came together to heal. Kale and his faction remained in hiding aboard their damaged cruiser, waiting for the right moment to act. They had risked everything to sabotage the superweapon, knowing full well the consequences if Zilar discovered their betrayal. Through encrypted messages, Kale assured Sarah and John that they weren't alone in their fight against the Vorin Dominion. "There are others like us," he wrote. "Others who see Zilar's vision for what it truly is. Tyranny masked as order." As days passed, the Guardians continued to patrol Earth's skies, their glowing forms a constant reminder of the ancient war humanity had unknowingly inherited. John spent hours analyzing their movements, searching for patterns or weaknesses. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were holding something back, some final devastating ability they hadn't yet unleashed. "If we push them too far," he warned Sarah, "we might regret it." Then came the news no one wanted to hear. Zilar had survived the destruction of the superweapon and vowed revenge. In a chilling broadcast, his mechanical voice echoed across the planet. "You have made your choice. Now you will face the consequences." Moments later, the remaining Vorin fleet reappeared, larger than ever. Dozens of ships descended toward Earth, their weapons primed for attack. Sarah immediately called an emergency meeting. "This is it," she said grimly. "They're coming for us, and they mean business." John nodded, his hands trembling slightly as he pulled up data on the Guardian's energy reserves. "We need to activate the failsafe," he said. "It's our only chance." Sarah hesitated, knowing the risks. Activating the failsafe could amplify the Guardian's power, but it could also destroy them, leaving Earth defenseless. With time running out, the team prepared for the final battle. Pilots suited up, engineers armed disruptors, and civilians braced themselves for whatever came next. As the Vorin ships closed in, Sarah gave the order. "Activate the failsafe." The ground shook violently as the Guardians roared to life, their glow intensifying until they blotted out the sun. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity felt hope, not just for survival, but for victory. The activation of the failsafe changed everything. The Guardians, already massive and imposing, grew brighter and more powerful, their forms pulsating with energy that seemed to ripple through the atmosphere. Their eyes glowed like miniature suns, and their movements became faster, sharper, almost alive in a way they hadn't been before. As the Vorin fleet descended toward Earth, the Guardians surged forward, meeting them head-on in a clash of unimaginable power. John Carter watched from the Eclipse bunker, his heart pounding as he monitored the energy readings. The failsafe was working, but barely. The strain on the Guardian systems was immense, and John knew it couldn't last forever. "We've got minutes, maybe less," he told Sarah Mitchell, who stood nearby, gripping the edge of a table tightly. She nodded, her jaw set. "Then we make every second count." Above, the battle rage. The Guardians tore through the Vorin ships with terrifying efficiency, their glowing limbs slicing through metal hulls like paper. But the Vorin fought back fiercely, unleashing waves of drones and concentrated beams of energy. Explosions lit up the sky, shaking the ground below. Civilians huddled indoors, watching through windows as their planet's fate hung in the balance. Emily Dawson filmed the chaos, her hands trembling as she captured footage of the Guardians battling the alien fleet. "This is it," she whispered to herself. "This is how it ends." Kale and his faction played a crucial role in the fight. Using the damaged cruiser they had stolen, they launched surprise attacks on key Vorin ships, disrupting their formations and giving the Guardians an opening. Cal's voice crackled over the comms. "We're holding them off as long as we can. Don't waste this chance." His bravery inspired those fighting alongside him, both human and alien alike. As the battle reached its peak, Xyler appeared once more, broadcasting directly to Earth. His mechanical voice was cold and venomous. "You think your ancient relics can stop us? You are wrong." With that, he unleashed his flagship's ultimate weapon, a devastating beam designed to obliterate entire continents. The beam charged, glowing ominously as it locked onto a major city. But the Guardians were ready. Sensing the threat, one of them broke away from the main fight and positioned itself between the beam and the city. When the weapon fired, the Guardian absorbed the blast, its body glowing brighter and brighter until it could no longer contain the energy. In a blinding flash, the Guardian exploded, taking the Vorin flagship with it. The shockwave rippled across the battlefield, disabling countless ships and scattering debris into space. The loss of the Guardian stunned everyone, especially John. He stared at his screen, unable to believe what he had just witnessed. "They gave everything for us," he murmured, tears streaming down his face. Sarah placed a hand on his shoulder, her own eyes glistening. "And we'll honor them by finishing this." With their flagship destroyed and their forces crippled, the surviving Vorin ships began to retreat. Xyler's voice echoed one last time. "This isn't over. We will return." Then, silence. The remaining Guardians hovered above Earth, their glow dimming as they powered down. They had done their job, but at great cost. In the days that followed, humanity began to rebuild once more. The scars of the battle remained, but so did the determination to never give up. President Laura Hayes declared Earth's independence official, establishing the Interstellar Defense Coalition to prepare for future threats. John dedicated himself to studying the Guardians, hoping to unlock their secrets and ensure humanity would never be caught off guard again. Emily published her account of the war, sharing the stories of courage and sacrifice with the world. Her final words resonated deeply. Earth stood together, united not by fear, but by hope. And though the galaxy is vast and dangerous, we proved that even the smallest light can shine against the darkness. As the sun rose over a scared but hopeful planet, humanity looked to the stars, ready to face whatever came next. For now, the skies were clear, and Earth's declaration rang loud and proud. No galactic empire ships allowed.